Good evening and welcome to the South Florida Writers Association February Author Showcase Series, a virtual experience. My name is bmelasi and I'm your host for tonight's performance. But before I introduce our featured author, I'd like to share a little about us. We are a 501c3 nonprofit educational and membership organization dedicated to the literary arts and support writers in our community. Our mission is to establish and maintain a forum of fellowship, education, and information among writers in the South Florida area. For more information, please visit our website at southfloridawriters.org. Tonight, the South Florida Writers Association is pleased to showcase author Violet DeLuna and her new novel, Walking Each Other Home. Ever since Violet was a little girl, she has searched for that one thing that brings her home to herself and keeps her there, the fix to keep her grounded. She feels that when her heart and mind work as one, that is where the magic happens, and she has devoted her life to connecting them. She has tried countless healing modalities, many of which are covered in her new novel, Walking Each Other Home, the Book of Violet's Heart. She tells the story of a young woman who longs to heal from within and yearns for something beyond herself. While searching for love, she finally ends up falling in love with herself, the ultimate affection we all seek. Violet feels we can only come home when we feel into our hearts and learn to stay there as much as possible. She hopes her readers will find joy, inspiration, and an open heart after reading her novel. Ladies and gentlemen, may I present to you Violet DeLuna.
Hi, my name is Violet DeLuna, and I am a recovering sometimes attorney in Miami, Florida, and I'm also an author. This is my first book, Walking Each Other Home, and I am really excited to be here today because I have listened to the other podcasts by the other South Florida writers, and I'm really excited that the South Florida Writers Association gave me this opportunity to come and speak about my book and the writing process. So the book, Walking Each Other Home, is autobiographical fiction. And what that means is that some of the events in it are inspired by real life events in my life, but the characters are all fictional, and a lot of the events are fictional as well that occur to the main character named Brooke. Some of it, though, is inspired by me, and in autobiographical fiction, the author does not reveal that which is true and that what is not true. So it kind of is it's fun. However, in the beginning of the book, I have acknowledged the characters that are real life individuals living in Miami, Florida, and Peru that were inspired by many of the events in the book. And the reason that I've named them by name is so that any readers out there who feel called to do similar healing work to the main character, Brooke, can get in touch with them, can Google them, and can learn about their work. So the book, Walking Each Other Home, covers a woman named Brooke who is an attorney, and she wants to find love. She has a longtime lover, but he's emotionally unavailable, and she really wants to find love. And she's told, well, if you just open your heart, then you can find love. So she goes and she does family constellations, which is, she does it with Eric Lopez, who is a real life family constellator here in South Florida, North Carolina, and he travels the world right now doing family constellations. And family constellations is a process whereby by moving the energy in the room, either with people or objects, you help heal trauma in the family that is repeated generation after generation for up to 7 generations. And so in the novel, Brooke is healing family trauma of isolation and mental illness. And when she goes to the constellation with one of her friends, she learns about a plant medicine called ayahuasca, which is pretty popular here in the United States now. And I think it may have been at the time the book was set as well. But Brooke, she doesn't know about it. In fact, she doesn't know anything. And for some reason, despite being a lawyer, she doesn't research it before she goes. So her and her friend traveled to Peru with Eric Lopez to a place called Wasi, which is a real place. It's a beautiful retreat center in the Sacred Valley of Peru, also a real place. And she attends an ayahuasca ceremony. Actually, she attends two. And the ceremony is led by someone named Diego Palma, who has passed away, but was a shaman that helped maybe thousands of people introduce them to ayahuasca, led these beautiful ceremonies. And it was a real loss to the community when he passed away. But his wife, Milagros, she still continues the ceremonies to this day, either with herself or with others, and she gave me permission to use actual teachings of Diego in the book. So for people who are interested in shamanism, ayahuasca, plant medicine, I'm really excited that, I was able to include that aspect of someone's real voice, real teachings coming to life in story form, which is personally, for me as a reader, I love to read stories and I love to learn through stories. So I was excited that I had that opportunity to include his teachings. So in the book, Brooke goes to Peru. She does ayahuasca. In one of the ceremonies, the second ceremony, she has a complete breakdown, and in that moment, she feels her heart for the first time, and from there, she believes, as I think many of us who are seeking in life, she believes she's found the solution, the answer, and that she's had a spiritual awakening and that her life is going to change. And I think that as we all discover that life is life, and no matter how many ceremonies you go to or how many healings you do, the daily work comes, in my opinion, in the everyday. And this book is about Brooke discovering how to maintain her open heart while living in the day to day life of a lawyer, of a woman seeking love, of a woman who faces a huge betrayal and she needs to learn forgiveness. And how does she balance like having an open heart, but dealing with some huge real life events and trying to be that spiritual person, but also being herself. And so in the book, there's various plant medicines introduced along with a lot of family constellations. So if you're interested in family constellations, you can learn a lot about it through the book. On a personal level, I love family constellations. They help me a lot in my life, really put the pieces together and understand, why I might react to certain things certain ways and why I might do things certain ways, and heal that and move on from that, because I believe that in healing and in moving on and changing our lives, that comes from taking the steps and making the steps to move to change the karma, to change the patterns, to change whatever it is. The healing is just to open your eyes, but then it's your responsibility or my responsibility to make a change in our lives and to move forward. So if you're interested in family constellations, learning about ayahuasca, there's some other plants involved like San Pedro, which is a cactus. And ayahuasca, just to go back. So for those who don't know, ayahuasca is actually not one plant. It's two combined. It's chacruna, which is the root, and then the vine of the ayahuasca wraps around it. And those together create the ayahuasca hallucinogens that people speak about when they speak about ayahuasca. It's the two plants together create a hallucinogenic effect that can be very healing, very heart opening, and can help people with a lot of things. San Pedro too has a hallucinogenic effect. It's different, and some people call ayahuasca the grandmother medicine. San Pedro is the grandfather. There's peyote in the book. Peyote is another male energy plant. There's kambo, which is a frog. The poison of a frog that's burned onto the skin. That's very, very cleansing, very healing. So all of the Brooke's experiences are told through her experiences with these plants, with family constellations. She goes to some tarot reading. She gets a feng shui master that helps her find love. He actually gives her certain rules that she has to follow, in addition to placing the feng shui elements around her house, which are the earth, air, water, and fire elements to balance the energy of her house and attract love. He gives her a lot of homework, and all of those things combined really do attract love into her life. Oh, and she starts doing, she creates an altar, she uses crystals. So it's a lot of fun if you want to learn about different healing modalities told by somebody who's just, she's a lawyer and she's just trying. Like, she's got an open mind and she's ready to try and see, how can she change her life? How can she come home to herself? And that's, I love that Ram Dass quote, we're all just walking each other home. And that's why I titled the book Walking Each Other Home, because in Brooke's experience, that's what she wants. She just really wants to come home to herself and feel that feeling when she's just inside herself. And she gets glimpses of it. She does a family constellation. She feels great. She feels at home. And then she's back being a lawyer again. And she can't seem to find her heart again. And the same thing with the ayahuasca, with the San Pedro, with the Cambo. There's the ceremony and then there's after. And how do we find our way home to ourselves as much as possible in the daily life, in the real life, doing throughout our careers and our relationships? So that is the question that the book seeks to answer. How do you find your way home to yourself? What do you do when the ceremony is over? And if you're interested in ceremonies and plant medicines and feng shui and other healing modalities, you may find the book a fun read, and really, has a lot of information in it. Like I said, it has some real people. Oh, the feng shui master, um, the feng shui master mentioned in the book, Angel DePara, he is a feng shui master here in South Florida. Also quoted in the book is another feng shui master, Paula Gomez. She's another great feng shui master here in South Florida. We have like this great community of resources, and I really wanted to get people's names out there, so that you're not just reading the book and saying, "Oh, well, I wish I could try some of Brooke's journey." Definitely not all of it, but some of it. And so you have the names now, and you can Google those people and you should be able to find them. And if not, you can always reach out to me at my website, violetdeluna.com, and I can point you in the direction of those people and finding it. And I just want to be clear that I don't condone the use of illegal drugs in my world. And what I've seen, these are plants, and plants are medicine. And whether that plant is chamomile that everyone drinks for calmness, or it is a powerful plant from the jungle or the desert, or our gardens. Plants are powerful and they can create change in our lives, but we need people to help us with that. And that's where the shamans come in, the teachers and people afterwards to help you integrate the experience. So I'm not condoning the use of illegal drugs, but I do support the use of ethogens and plant medicine to help people create change in their life, if that is a path that they're interested in. And I believe that you really need to do the research and find the right community and right shaman or teacher or whomever it is to support you in that process, because it is not always easy. And as you may find out if you read the book, Brooke really struggles in some of the ceremonies, and afterwards to process what happens and to maintain what she has learned. So I wanted to read part of the passage of Brooke's second ceremony in the book. She's already had one ayahuasca ceremony. She's going in for her second ceremony. And what some people say in the ayahuasca community is that the first ayahuasca ceremony, if you're doing a series, the first is to cleanse the any physical, anything physically that needs to be cleansed. The second is to cleanse the emotions that have to be cleansed. So Brooke is going into her second ceremony. I'm not going to read the entire chapter because that may take up some time. But she's in the second ceremony. She's just taken the ayahuasca. And what is interesting is that she doesn't, she's just taken the ayahuasca and it's supposed to take like 40 minutes to go into effect. And she feels it almost immediately and she's starting to freak out, and the lights are still on in an ayahuasca ceremony in most, because there's many traditions and I don't purport to know about all of them, but in this particular ayahuasca ceremony, once the medicine is served, and that's what it's called, is medicine. Once the medicine is served, the lights are turned out, but while the medicine is being served so that people can see and come up and receive it, the lights are on. The lights are still on, and she already feels the effect of the ayahuasca, and she's starting to really get nervous. And she's coming back from the bathroom in this moment, and she's starting to freak out because the ayahuasca is taking so much control of her that she can't she doesn't know what to do. She wants to get it out of her. And that, unfortunately, or fortunately, most likely fortunately, but in her case, unfortunately, she has tried to purge it and it's not going anywhere. So it's stuck inside her. She's starting to feel the effects and she's really getting scared. So while I read, I'm going to move to the next slide so you don't have to watch me reading. So 1 second. All right. Um, a voice started speaking to her, or maybe it was her own mind. It dripped with cruelty and judgment. You had better get back inside. Aren't you scared? It snarled at her. She headed back towards the temple, only 100 yards away. At the door to the porch, though, something pulled her down to the floor. Here, the energy was heavy. It pulsed a dark, syrupy melody. As the psychedelic angry mushrooms and insects surrounded her, fear twisted Brooke's stomach. The voice kept speaking. You are so stupid for doing drugs, its tone condescending and angry. It's not a drug, it's medicine, a plant medicine, Brooke pleaded back to the voice. You're a bad girl for doing this. You're a bad girl for not going back into the temple. The voice echoed in her ears with anger and judgment. Now, a different, cynical, inky energy beckoned to Brooke. Come on, you know you like it taunted. I do not, she screamed silently, her voice stuck in her throat. The psychedelic plants and bugs mocked her, dancing around her eyes, laughing at her terror. She had to get back to the ceremony. She was breaking the rules by staying out there. She wasn't one to break the rules, and the angry, dark lights and voices were terrifying her. Using all her willpower, Brooke pulled her body upright and forced it to walk into the temple. Inside, the candles were still lit. Medicine was still being served. She hurried through the circle to drop to her spot beside the musician. She looked directly into his eyes, showing her panic to him. He made a sign for her to inhale and exhale. She could hear him breathing, and it was so loud. But when she herself tried to breathe, the ominous energy pulled her down, down, down. Her mind grasped for her, trying to pull her out, but couldn't find her. As the room's candles were blown out, Brooke laid her head down in Veronica's lap. Her mind swirled and swirled. All was a deep, dark spiral where things wanted to get her. What things? She tried to ask. Her brain couldn't process what it was, but in her gut, Brooke knew something deep and hurtful was trying to pull her down with it. She didn't want to go there, but she couldn't get away. Vomit poured out of her mouth. Help me, she murmured, her voice shaky and full of distress. No one came. The energy pulled her under again, an enormous wave sucking her deep into an ominous ocean. In trying to escape, Brooke kicked over her bucket full of vomit. It spilled everywhere. Shapes, people moved in front of her to clean it up, but no one helped her. My name is Brooke King. I come from a good family. I'm a lawyer and I make a good income. I have a strong mind. My father is Charlie King. My mother is Valentina King. Her voice was speaking out loud. She was yelling in the temple. Talking wasn't allowed, but Brooke was breaking the rule over and over again, repeating the same string of words, shouting in the middle of the ceremony. Talking isn't allowed. Why wasn't anyone stopping her? She was breaking the rules. Help me, she called out, panic-stricken. I need to go to the hospital. My heart is beating too fast and I might die. What is happening to me? The words trembled out quickly. Why aren't they helping her? Why did they help Sarah yesterday, but now they're leaving me to a room of horrors? She heard her voice again, as if it was separate from her body. I know I'm not supposed to talk in the ceremony, but I have a strong mind, it said. But it didn't sound strong. It sounded terrifying to her ears. Why aren't you helping her? She heard Veronica plead to the musician. Let her go through her process, the musician said calmly. Embarrassment, shame, fear circled around her, pulling her down, down, down. They are not helping you. No one cares. The spiteful energy spoke to Brooke again. I'm going to die. Please take me to the hospital, her own voice shouted loudly. Two people suddenly appeared at her side and, supporting her limp body, led her out of the ceremony. They sat her down a few yards from the temple, near a small stream with trees. The helpers then sat beside her. Brooke tried to look at the enormous stars in the night sky. They tried to pull her in too. She grabbed at the dirt. She didn't want to go there. Then she heard a low, gurgled chanting behind her, and the sound of a feather being shaken. The crack of the feather as it moved energy off her back. Ch, ch, ch. Diego was shaking dry leaves around her. More sounds, another language being spoken just for her, arose from Diego's throat. He was behind her, but it was as if she was watching him from above. Did I die? It was beautiful, but if she hadn't died yet, she knew she was going to die. She needed more than feathers and leaves right now. Fear and anger poured out of Brooke as her heart beat faster and faster. I need to go to the hospital. Please, someone take me, she pleaded. A male helper put his face close to her. The hospital is in your heart. Just breathe into your heart and you will calm down. That was crazy. He was so calm, Brooke wanted to smack him. The other assistant said, if you stop hating yourself, it will be easier. See what it is you don't love about yourself. That is absurd. I don't hate myself, she erupted with as much certainty as she could muster. Couldn't a person have a breakdown without it being that they hate themselves? Why did all these spiritual people always need someone to hate themselves before they could experience a breakthrough? Why was the issue always a lack of self-love? She was angry now, angry that no one cared she was going to die. Instead, they cared if she loved herself or not. In between the waves of medicine pulling her down, 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 Brooke spied Veronica approaching. Veronica touched her arm, trying to calm Brooke as she continued to sway back and forth, moaning. Don't touch her, Diego cautioned. You will feel everything she is feeling and go to that place too. Veronica reared back. Brooke saw the fear in her eyes and realized Veronica had already seen the death Brooke knew lay before her. Then Chris's words echoed in her head. One session will be very difficult for you. Take a crystal with you. When you feel lost, hold it. Think of me and my wife. then and know we are supporting you." She reached into her pocket, and there they were. She gripped them tightly in one hand, closing her fist around the crystals. "Why are you being such a spoiled brat?" Gonzalo spat at her, or at least that's what she thought she heard. Maybe it was the voice and not him. Shame fell heavy on Brooke's shoulders. Her skin burned red, and she wondered if she was indeed being selfish, taking up too much of everyone's attention. She didn't want to feel like a crazy person. She was not doing this on purpose. She hated all the attention she was getting because of it. The helpers quickly got up to move him away from Brooke, one of them whispering, "That man's going through his own process. That was not about you." Brooke was left alone with a new helper. The girl was young, with blonde hair. "She looks like me." Brooke looked at the girl, her eyes calm and confident. "It will be over in a few hours," she spoke, "and when it is, you will get your mind back, though you may not want it. But before it ends, you can listen to me, and then the rest won't be so bad, or you can keep fighting the medicine." Brooke nodded, willing to do anything at this point. "Don't worry, we have all been here. Just stop fighting it." Her voice was a whisper. So this was normal? Everyone had breakdowns, even this yogi girl woman? For a moment, Brooke felt slightly better. "Try breathing into your heart, really feeling your heart and breathing from there," the girl encouraged her, a voice of warmth and compassion, beginning to fill Brooke's inside. In between wave and wave of ayahuasca, Brooke searched for her route. She found it. It felt tight. She took a breath and directed it there. Another breath to her heart. Something loosened, something buzzed, just a little. Then the ayahuasca took her again, somewhere dark. When she came back, she took another breath. She saw the girl nodding beside her. She felt her heart. She had never felt her heart before. It buzzed and hummed inside her chest for the first time. Still, she wanted out. I'll leave it there. That's the first time Brooke feels her heart. And from there, she learns throughout the book how to keep feeling it. And I will say that I had a similar experience. I had never felt my heart before until ayahuasca, and I didn't know what that meant. When people said, "Feel into your heart," I would take a breath, I would feel, but I didn't know what my heart felt like. And if you haven't felt your heart before, um, I I really encourage you to try. It is this feeling, for me at least, of buzzing, of something inside that just it connects you to something, and it's really hard to do when you're mad, but it helps. And when people are upset at me, I do that too. I try to take a breath and go to my heart first before I go to my head, and then I try to bring them together. And sometimes it works, and sometimes it doesn't. And the last thing that I wanted to speak about was just the writing process and learning to write my first book. Um, when I always wanted to be an author. I always wanted to be a writer, but I never could find the time. And I had this excuse in my head that if only I had the time, then I could write my book. And my husband told me, "You just need to write a crappy first draft and then you revise it." And I was like, he doesn't know what he's talking about. He doesn't understand that I need to get in the flow. I need to get my muse and I need to have my moment and then I can write. And one day I was on Udemy, I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but it's a platform to find courses. And there was this how to write a book course, and it was 20 minutes long. And I was like, okay, I have time for that. And it was done by a best-selling author. Her name is Rachel Herron, and she's amazing. And she said, just write a crappy first draft. That's what all the authors do. And looking back, I feel so naive because I had never spent the time to listen to author podcasts or books on how to write. I didn't even really know that they existed. I just had this like author illusion in my head. And so she said, just write a crappy first draft and then you revise it. And I was like, well, that's crazy. So I emailed her, and also I couldn't believe my husband was right, because what did he know? And I emailed her, and she wrote me back, and she said, yeah, you write a crappy first draft and then you revise it. So I signed up for her course, which I highly recommend for new authors, but even authors that are just having trouble getting the work done. It's called 90 Days to Done. And in that course, you spend 90 days writing your crappy first draft. So I did that. And the way I did it is I woke up at 3 in the morning every day for 90 days. And in 90 days, I had written 95,000 words. And they were crap, but I did it. I wrote it down. It was really hard to get up at 3 in the morning. I had a 18-month-old baby, and then I had a 4-year-old or 3-year-old at the time, I think. But I did it. I'm not sure it was good for my health. I was really tired and sometimes cranky. I still get up super early, but now it's 4 and not 3. Um, and yeah, I wrote the book, and then I took Rachel's next course, and this is kind of an advertisement for her because she's amazing as well. And it's called 90 Days to Revise, and I learned how to revise books. So we spent 90 days learning to revise, and then I thought like, okay, then I'll be done. But no, that's the first revision. Then I learned about all the multiple passes that go into revising a book. Then the developmental editor, the copy editor, the proofreader. It took a few years after I wrote those 90 Days to Done book. For my next book, which is called Astrologically Perfect, it's not taking quite as long. I'm still in the crappy first draft stage. But I understand more now story structure, what needs to go into a scene, all of those things that as a new author, which I still am and I'm still learning, but as a new author, I just didn't even know existed. And I really want to encourage new writers and new authors to to under to understand that the magic of the novel is not in the first draft, and you can write anywhere. That first draft, editing, revising, that sometimes you do need a little bit more focus, a little bit more time, at least for me. But that first draft, you just got to get the words on the page. If you are getting the words on the page, as Rachel always says, and you're revising at the same time, good for you. But most authors write a crappy first draft and then they revise it. And for me, I love the Clifton Strengths, and they help me really understand myself. So I am number one empathy. If you haven't heard of the Clifton Strengths, they're developed by developed in order to understand people. It's like a personality type test, but it is used for corporations and getting work done. So I'm number one empathy, but I'm number two achiever, which means that I like to get everything in my to-do list done, and I'm very high responsibility. So as you can imagine, as a lawyer, as a mom, everything else came before my writing. So if I made it that I had to first thing in the morning get my writing done before my other responsibilities came into play, then I was able to do it. My other responsibilities that felt more important because they weren't my income, they weren't my family. So, again, if you're having trouble getting the words done, if you're having trouble writing, I encourage you to write first thing in the morning or set aside a time to write. And you can get a lot done in 30 minutes, and you can even get a lot done in 10. And just that feeling, at least for me, of doing something for my book every day helps carry me through the rest of the day. And when people talk about self-love, and today that I'm recording this is Valentine's Day, so there's a lot of self-love talk going on. And to me, self-love is not about massages and baths and whatever. Self-love is is not getting upset with myself. And when I don't react in the way I want to, or learning to decrease the time I'm upset with myself when I don't react the way I want to or don't feel it the way I want to. And one of the ways that I can do that is by writing, because when I feel that I've written or done something at least every day for my book, I feel more in love with myself. And just like, oh, I did it. I'm working one more day in something that I love. And many times I don't know why I love it. But I just love it. I love writing, I love storytelling, and I love inspiring others through story. And I hope that if you read Walking Each Other Home, you do feel some inspiration um, ab- e- about forgiveness, about self love in a different way of looking at it, and about that we're all here for each other, just walking each other home, and it's those small moments of connection that really bring us into ourselves. And just real quick before I go, there's another moment in the book where the main character Brooke is really suffering from a betrayal that has happened to her, and she's trying all these healing modalities, but someone in line at the grocery store reminds her that she forgot her cup of coffee. And the person that reminds her that is just so sweet and so kind that for a moment she's back home to herself for a moment. And that act of kindness brought her out of this sadness. And so, even though I think the plants are important, the ritual, the ceremonies, the healing modalities, kindness brings us home to each other. And since it's Valentine's Day today, I just say that make a moment of kindness for yourself, a kindness for others, and take a breath into your heart, see if you can feel it, because it's really cool when you can. And I hope you enjoy Walking Each Other Home, and I hope we can connect. Oh, it's available on Amazon so far. I'm doing Kindle Unlimited, so if you're a Kindle Unlimited subscriber, you can read it for free. Otherwise, you can get the soft cover, the ebook version, and if those things are out of your price range and you really want to learn about these things that are in the book, send me an email, violet@violetdeluna.com. I'm happy to gift you a version. I would just love to spread the message of joy and inspiration, and spread the message about plants and other healing modalities and family constellations to all of those. So I wish you the best. Have a happy Valentine's Day, and have a great day. And I look forward to connecting. Again, my website is violetdeluna.com, and you can reach me there.